I have so many scraps, I don't know what to do with it. I'm sure you've heard that from me before. Hi, welcome to the Shelly Studio. Today I am making a book of sorts. So I have this roll of scrap paper that I did a long time ago. It's like permanently curled from being rolled up and stored away. I just took all my random scraps that I'd been holding on for whatever reason and glued them all together, and I did it sort of in a color, I don't know how to say that. Started with blue, moved to purple, you know, you get the idea. Red, green, whatever. Anyway, so most of these will be blue. They'll kind of change slightly as I go along. But I decided to take some of them and make them into a book. I cut them down. I don't even remember how long they are. But I just cut them down to what I thought would be a good journal-y size. And I'm gluing two of them together. Some of the papers I glued together are thick, and some of the papers I glued together are really thin. And so I figured it would be best to glue them all together. And they didn't all end up the same height. Like, as I was collaging this big wheel of paper, the height kind of changed as I went along. So I'll have to trim and adjust, but right now it's pretty good. And they're so stiff after gluing them together. And yes, I used clearance gloss gel medium to glue them together. Because I had it and I wasn't using it, so I might as well. So these are kind of stiff since I glued them together. So I have this score pal that I bought myself, and I hadn't used it yet. You can see me trying to figure out how to get the like, is it considered a bone folder or the scoring tool out of its little holder. But it works pretty well to do this. So I'm going to score them all so they'll be in half, and then I figured after that we can trim them down to size. This one, I think I needed to trim it because it was a little crooked and wouldn't sit against the edge. I'm just trimming that off so it'll sit against the edge better. There we go. And that's kind of hard to score through thick, thin, and bumps. But it worked. Okay, so I've got them all folded and creased. Some of the little spots cracked, probably because of the thickness and the glue I used. And I just covered that up with a little bit of paper to hide the crack. So now I'm going to decide how tall I want them to be, because they're all slightly different. And I'm going to trim the edges, and then I will trim the width, because that is also not even. I think I do 6 inches. Might be 4 by 6. I don't know where I put it, or I would measure it for you. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can do this any size you want to. But to get them all trimmed to the same length, and then I trim off the edges to make them the same width. And actually, I think they might be 5x6, a little bit wider. And then since they're so thick, each one of them has to be their own signature. Sticking them inside each other was just kind of crazy. I did try inserting them, but they stick out like half an inch because it's so thick. So I am just going to do a Coptic stitch and stitch them together that way. I found a pattern, a Coptic stitch pattern, that had sort of an interesting design on the back, so I thought I would give that a try. I do show me stitching it, but I am not good at stitching tutorials because I'm not an expert and I struggle through it myself. So I think I do a length for each signature plus a little. That's usually how I work. It might have been an extra length and a little. And I've got 2 holes on one end, 3 in the middle. I think it's 3 in the middle. And then 2 on the other end. Just clipping that so it won't get away from me. And I'm doing this and I realize that I need to go back down in the same hole, but I don't want to go back in the same hole because it will just fall out. So I tie a little French knot and just have that hold it. It'll get tied to that eventually. And I probably didn't even need to do that, so don't go by my example. Alright, so now I've got it all there. Oh, I think I ended up skipping that hole. I don't know. And with Coptic stitch, you stack them next to each other and then you kind of tie it to the previous one. So I'm going to go around the thread of the previous one. And I think I go back in. Sorry, I can't really see what I'm doing. My view is not as good as what you're seeing. Unless you're watching it on a really small phone, you have a better view than I do right now. But like I said, it would be best if you watched a real bookbinding person for your Coptic stitch. But I do just come out, go around that string, and I think I go back in. And there's a section where I do it decoratively, but you can't even tell in the end, so it probably wasn't even worthwhile. It's just kind of like a twist sort of thing. Anyway. I think I show going back and forth one more time. And see, I'm half off the screen, so I'm really a bad teacher. Then I think here you tie it to the starting thread. I think that's what I'm doing. And then I'm going to add the next one on. Alright, well hopefully you get the idea of how that's working. So how is everyone today? I hope you're all doing well. Everything's pretty good here. I've just been out watering the lawn. We're down to restricted water usage, so I only have so long to water the lawn, and it's still mostly dead. It's never going to be green again, I swear. And the weeds are taking over because they are native and they don't need as much water, apparently. Alright, that one was maybe a little easier to follow, that last signature, but I won't make you watch me do them all. I have a couple more to do and we'll just skip it. Go to the next step. Okay, so that is the basic structure of my little book. It's kind of fun, right? Ooh, it could be a travel theme. It kind of looks travel-y. Anyways, I feel like the Coptic stitch makes it a little loose in between each of those signatures, so I wanted to do something that would hold it together a little bit better, maybe firm it up, and you can't see the decorative stitching on the back of the spine. Got a few little areas that I see are coming up, so I'm just going to hit them with a glue stick. And glue them down. No biggie. I have a lot more of that scrap paper left. I wonder what am I going to do with the next one. I might make a book. So I'm trying to decide the width of that decorative spot. And I'm going to take strips of homemade book cloth and put it in there. So here's my homemade book cloth. It's just fabric with fusible, what's it called, fusible web, and tissue paper ironed together, fused together, and that just stiffens up the fabric, and it'll also make it work well when I'm gluing it down and won't have as much give. That's my homemade book cloth. If you've watched any of my videos, you've seen me do that process before. Alright, so I've got my little strip of fabric. Save that other for another time. And I think this blue fabric goes well, and hopefully maybe we'll be able to see the decorative stitching. It's just a twist. I mean, I don't know how decorative it is. But now getting it in between there. I'm going to go grab a palette knife and thread it through there, and hopefully that will help me get the fabric through. There we go. See how those stitches are kind of twisted around each other? That is done on purpose. Alright, and it goes with the book. The blue goes with the book, so it looks like it's meant to be there. I don't want it too long, so I think I could use this piece for both sections. Going as close to the edge as possible. And then I do a little measuring just to decide what size I want the strip to be. Takes me a minute, I don't know why. I decide to go for 2 inches. And then that one ends up being, what, an inch? Yeah. There we go. I was going to say that other one. Oh! That was my timer to go move the water. So I took a little break and I re-listened to this, and that water alarm, it was on my phone. It was really close to the microphone. It was really loud. Sorry about that. Startled me when I was listening back to it. But I'm just going to thread those through and put some of the glitter glue on there to glue them down. And I was hoping this would make it feel a little bit more sturdy. There's still the gap because just the sheer thickness of each of the signatures creates that gap. There's no getting around it, I don't think. But I still like that I put these little strips on, because I do think it looks nice with the binding. Now all I've got to figure out is what to put inside. I'll have to make it a fun little journal. This may be a short story. There we go, and I do let those dry before messing around with them. Because I want to make sure they're going to stay put. So yeah, I'm noticing the gap. It's just not going to go away. Well, I hope you liked that video. If you did, leave me a thumbs up or a comment. Thank you all for watching. Have an awesome day.